Howdy folks, I'm Brian and here's some Reddit. Our first story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Making My Ex Lose $1,200? This is about the stimulus payments in the US. I got mine sent to my ex's bank account as that was the account the IRS had on file. When the first payment a year ago was deposited, my ex obviously got two of them. Not being aware that second was actually mine, he spent all of the money. Once I found out and asked for it, he told me he couldn't pay me back, but he would once he had the money. So, time went by. I kept asking, and he kept being poor. Meanwhile, I could see him going out and partying and buying expensive stuff on social media. When I confronted him about it, he came up with all kinds of excuses. Well, anyways, the second $600 and third $1,400 payment were also deposited into his account, and he did send them to me immediately once he got them, but now the IRS apparently took the last payment back as the receiver's name, mine, didn't match the account's name, his. After he realized the money got taken out of his account, he demanded from me to send him the whole $1,400 back as he was relying on that payment. I told him I wouldn't give him back more than $200 as he's still owing me the first stimulus payment. Now he is furious at me, telling me that I need to give him back the money and that he needs it for rent and this might make him lose his apartment. I'm not sure what to do now because I don't want him to get in trouble, but on the other hand, it's not my fault he's financially irresponsible, and he's been owing me the $1,200 for almost a year now. So I'm asking you, am I the jerk for keeping the money? Edit. Some people have mentioned that I should change my details after the first payment, but honestly, I did not find a way to delete his bank account information as the IRS is taking the information from what I last filed my taxes. And they even state on their homepage that it's not possible to change bank information due to fraud prevention. So if someone knows how I could delete my ex's account from my file other than filing taxes for 2020, please let me know because I couldn't find anything. Even filing for 2020 probably wouldn't change anything as they are pretty slow processing tax returns and it still takes information from tax returns from 2019. Alright, OP. I'm going to have to say that you're mostly not the jerk, if not completely not the jerk. And here's why. You asked for the money back and he didn't give you the money. It sounds like he made plenty of purchases and spent all of the money that he was supposed to pay you back. And I guess really the only thing you might have been able to do differently here is say, put some kind of payment plan forward for him and say, hey, can you pay me back $100 a month? Or can you pay me back, $50 a month or something like that? And then that way, when this situation arose, it wouldn't have been a big deal for him. And I mean, it's going to be unfortunate if he loses his house, but I think a lot of places still have basically like rental protections on them. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe his place doesn't. But all in all, I think he'll probably be fine. But, and this might just be a sob story to get you to send him back the money. It's unfortunate, like, if you give him back the money, you're never going to see, the $1,200 from him. It's clear. He's had a year. He hasn't worked any kind of payment plan out. It doesn't sound like he's actually interested in paying you back, because generally if someone's actually interested in paying you back, they'll work hard to do so, But in this case, he's just kind of out spending the money and, now he's kind of suffering for it. So no, I don't think you're the jerk here, but I do, from his perspective, if he is at risk of losing his home, could see and understand why he would be upset. Not the jerk. Karma can sometimes bite you in the butt. Say the same thing. Sorry, the money is already spent. I only have $200 I can send you. That's actually what I told him, but given the fact he just sent me $1,400 a day before, he didn't believe me and now he's telling me how bad of a person I am. I would also tell him he's free to contact the IRS and explain to them why he didn't notify them of the error a year ago, effectively stealing from the IRS. Yeah, the IRS is probably not going to be too fond of that. And this is another thing, if he really has an issue here, I mean, it's not like he can even bring this up to court, because what's he going to tell the judge? Oh yeah, I stole $1,200 of hers from her and now I want it back. So I don't know. Not much he can do here. Right. He should be happy you didn't file fraud on him when he got the first payment and spent it. He knew he was not entitled to that much money. He could always take you to court and tell them how he stole your first stimulus. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a good point, that you could file fraud against him, and that may have been your best option at the very beginning, is to make a fraud report against him and say that, he's stolen this money. The fact is that he has no legal recourse because he literally stole $1,200 from you. And who doesn't realize, if you know how banks and overpayments and stuff like that goes, if you find extra money in your bank account, you tell the bank, you tell whatever organization it is that's, is in charge of issuing that money, that, hey, there's a mistake here. And beyond, the thing that you should never do is spend that money. And the reason why you should never spend that money is because it might be drawn from your account. This is banking 101. This is something that can happen. It happens to people. If you suddenly one day find a mysterious amount of money in your bank account and you can't explain it, you better not spend that money. You can tell the bank about it and be like, hey, I just got $1 million deposited into my account. Probably this is a mistake. And they could be like, oh no, this is fine. Don't spend that money. Really, do not spend that money, because eventually it's going to come back around and be like, oh, actually, hey, we did make a mistake. We need that $1 million back. So yeah, if you ever general life advice, find money in your account that you can't explain, do not spend that money, because it can and probably will be taken away from you. So yeah. All right, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Changing My Son's School So He Wouldn't Have to Shoulder the Weight of Helping His Stepbrother? My ex is a 40-year-old male and I'm a 31-year-old female, and I have a son who's 11. Ex cheated on me with his current wife 3 years ago. Ex's wife has a son, Daniel, who is the same age as my son. The first 2 years were rough. Daniel's home was ripped apart, too, and lashed out at my son because of it. He bullied him for a solid 2 years, made his life a nightmare, to the point that the school called us all at various times, and there was tension between all of us because I requested my son to be more protected, and I told my ex that he needed to do a better job of protecting our son and not let him suffer because he decided to cheat with a married woman. My ex took me to court then because I requested at one of these meetings that my son Daniel be separated in school, and my ex wanted to sever my education decision abilities because he said I was using the cheating to get what I wanted and create more distance between the new brothers. The judge did not like hearing what he had done, but it was my ex's actions that he didn't like. From defending having them in the same class, despite the bullying being to the level that it was, to saying that I shouldn't get a say in the decisions, to admitting that he left his wife to attend meetings on his behalf at times, and then digging his heels in with the judge. The judge gave me full educational decision making, where I only need to notify the ex of any change. After the whole bullying ordeal was over, they decided that my son needed to help Daniel's with schoolwork because Daniel was struggling in school. This included in and out of school and taking up lunchtime if Daniel needed it. My son hated it. His relationship with Daniel has not gotten better because the bullying back in May, and he told me he wanted to change schools. I weighed the options, and after talking to my ex about the pressures that he put on our son, despite everything that had happened, and him saying that they were brothers and our son would soon grow to appreciate being forced into this relationship, I decided to respect what my son wanted and move him from one school to another in the district, which was possible because my address and slight changes in zoning in the last 2 years. X expressed unhappiness with it, but It was what I told him. And then our son didn't need to help Daniel as much, until after Christmas when the boys were doing school virtually, and they asked my son to help Daniel, and one time, in an exchange with his dad, our son said that he thought moving schools would stop him from being forced to help Daniel. My ex went nuts and raged at me for moving, and reiterated that my son should help Daniel because Daniel is an innocent kid who doesn't deserve that. I told him that our son was innocent too, and shouldn't have the pressures of lots of homework on him, and they needed to get Daniel an actual tutor since he's struggling so bad. He called me a jerk and said it was spite for his cheating and punishing a child. I see it more as doing what's best for my child, which is my priority. Do you think my ex is right? Am I the jerk? All right, OP. I'm going to say that you're not the jerk in this situation. I don't think what you've done here is out of spite. I think you did this to protect your child who was being bullied. And I don't think that I think that if they really need Daniel to get homework help, they need to hire a tutor. That's completely reasonable. And maybe potentially if Daniel's struggling this much, they might look into potential reasons. Maybe there's an actual reason why Daniel is struggling a lot here. Maybe Daniel has a learning disability. Maybe there's something else going on here. Like maybe he needs therapy because the family breakup has caused him this much duress. There could be some reasonable explanations here. And certainly they're right that Daniel is innocent and he does need help. But that isn't the responsibility of your son to provide that help. If they are so worried about Daniel and his grades, then maybe here's a novel idea, maybe they can help Daniel with his homework. And that's just it. It's like you have a solution. You could help your son do his homework. You could walk him through some things, pick up a book, look at the pages, and try to figure things out. So no, this is not your son's responsibility. You're not doing this out of spite. This is just, what it is. Your son's not a fan of Daniel because Daniel was beating up on him and bullying him. And I cannot blame him for not wanting to help someone who tormented him. Plain and simple. Anyhow, take care and good luck. Not the jerk, I think you need to consider filing for full custody. Your ex is being abusive to your son. It might be a good idea to get full custody. You know whose job it is to help a kid who's struggling in school? That's the kid's parents, or a tutor they hire, not another kid in the household who's the same age. Alright, our final letter is titled, Am I a jerk for giving the access of my and my husband's Amazon Prime account to a penpal? Husband R, penpal A. I'm a 29-year-old female, and I've been married to my husband R, a 32-year-old male, for 3 years now. We have a great marriage. I have an Amazon Prime account paid for by my brother as a gift to me, which me and R use. I met A, a 24-year-old male, through a game. A is a decent guy. R knows about A from the start and doesn't mind the friendship. A is young, and N is an African country struggling between jobs and a lot of things. He sometimes comes to me for advice about life, and I find joy in making him feel like he has somebody to talk to. I am not like this just to A. This is my nature, and I try to help anyone as much as I can, as long as I don't get a weird vibe from them. R is very particular about his things. He doesn't like things being used by other people. He's not selfish because he gives it to people he cares about. For example, if A wants to borrow my laptop, I'll give it to him without thinking twice. If R is asked, he won't lend his laptop just to anyone. He will only give it to his family or close friends. I'm a giver by nature, but I don't have a job, and now I'm living off of R's income, which is why I'm not able to help others as much as I want to. Recently, I was suggesting some movies to A to watch, and there was a movie which he couldn't download, so I gave A access to our Amazon Prime account. R has his own profile on Prime, which he uses to save his watch list. R tells others, people we have shared the account with, except me, not to use this profile. Keeping this in mind, I told A not to use R's profile and that he can use any other profile. Why I might be the jerk. I didn't involve R in the thought process that I'm thinking of sharing an account with A. Honestly, I knew R would be hesitant about this, and in turn, I will end up not giving it to A. It made me happy that in spite of not having much to give, I was able to do this tiny little thing for someone. I couldn't shake the feeling that I'm keeping something from R though, so I told R the very next day about what I did. As expected, R was weirded out. I know A since almost a year, and numbers have been exchanged, and there is nothing weird or romantic, and R agrees. R has no problem with me talking to A, cause he's seen how we talk, and R gets decent vibes from A too. Even though the account is a gift to my brother, I consider it ours, mine and ours. I'm not alone. R is okay now, but thinks this is too much from my side. He says I'm too trusting sometimes. He clearly told me not to give the Netflix account to anyone. I wasn't going to share the Netflix with anyone else, as it's not mine to give. Jokingly, he said to go ahead and start giving credit card information also to random people. So, am I the jerk? Alright, OP. Honestly, I don't think that you're a jerk here, so I'm going to disagree with Reddit. I think you might be potentially overly trusting, but not a jerk. It really depends on whether or not A has access to your credit card information or your account information and can buy things. Because if A can actually buy stuff under your account, then that isn't a good situation. And that could potentially lead to theft or any number of things. And a lost friendship too. I mean, if you trust A this much and A hasn't ever given you a reason to doubt it, then I mean, I can't necessarily say, I think that you have to do what's best for you at the end of the day. And if you think that this is what's best and you trust A enough not to steal from you, then, I think that's fine. I do think this is a risky behavior. If something were to happen and you were to have your account compromised, it wouldn't be too hard from your end of things to fix things. All you would have to do is report this person to Amazon and be like, hey, our account was hacked and they stole stuff. And then Amazon would, take back the charges and that kind of stuff. So minimal risk to you. So that's pretty much why I'm saying that you're not the jerk here. Again, maybe potentially you should have talked to R ahead of time. But again, this is technically, your Amazon Prime account. You're, getting Prime access from your brother. So, and this is kind of a gift from your brother. So, again, I can see why you would feel like you had the more right to do this because, it technically could be, it technically is yours to give out. So overall here, I'm going to say that no one's the jerk and that, in the future, if you're going to give access to an account to somebody, potentially run it by your partner, that's always a good and healthy thing to do. And, but it also, here's the trouble is that it sounds like other people also have access to this account. So why is it that, R can share the password to this account with other people, but you can't share it with your friend? That to me seems a little bit off. If you trust this person enough, that shouldn't be an issue. So maybe I'm too trusting. What do you think? Am I too trusting here? So anyhow, yeah, take care. Good luck. No one's the jerk here. Just kind of different levels of comfort. You're the jerk. I mean this in the nicest way. But you sound kind of naive and a bit too trusting of a person you've never actually met. It's kind of risky to give access to an account that can be linked to personal information. Agreed. Thank you for the kind comment. I'm going to change the password. Have a good day. You're the jerk. I have an Amazon Prime account paid for by my brother as a gift to me, which me and R uses. And you gave access to that account to someone living in another country whom you've never met in person and only know based off of what they've told you online. All of your account information and ours and your brother's that is connected to the account is visible and available to your online buddy. Not the brothers. With Amazon, if you share an account, Amazon Prime account with someone, those accounts are separate. So in this case, the brother's information wouldn't be revealed. It's just that you can add a certain number of people onto an Amazon Prime account. At least that's the way it used to work. Maybe it's changed. Every single address is visible, every single credit card, debit card, or other payment information linked to an account, everything. And I think, again, on this one, I don't think that they show full credit card numbers. They show partial credit card numbers. So the only real risk here would be if they took the credit card information, took and bought something on Amazon and added an address. But again, Amazon would notify you that, hey, a new address has been made, or hey, did you make this purchase? Because, they notify things about that. You would be incredibly unethical if you did not change the password immediately and notify your brother that you gave someone else access to that account. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving me a like. If you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.